Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, here we go. Right, we're on the Everyday Martial Arts podcast. I'm super excited. I've got Master Clive Harrison, somebody that I've known for a long time. We go way back in the early Taekwondo days. Actually, we weren't that too far away in distance, really, from each other, from where we both sort of trained and so on. So hopefully he's going to give you some insights into a little bit about his feelings about some of the questions that I'm going to ask about Taekwondo in general. So I hope you enjoy it. We'll take it from there. So good morning, Mr. Harrison. Master Harrison,
morning,
how are you? How are you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. It's great. Thank you for agreeing to do this, and hopefully we're just going to give the listeners a little bit of an insight into you, into me, and just our martial arts passion in general. So I'm going to start right at the beginning because I'm sure your members know, and some of my members would love to know. And some of my listeners, hopefully I'll get a lot of listeners as we go along, is a little bit about your own sort of martial arts journey. Perhaps you can share that with us and, tell us, where you've been during your martial arts journey. In short, I know it's a long, it'll probably take about 3 hours, but hey, go for it.
All right. Okay. Right. It all started around 1972. Yes, I am one of the Bruce Lee boom few that started in those days, and it was the Bruce Lee things that set me off. And that was in 1972, so that's like 49 years ago. So I'm getting up my 50th year next year. And for the next 7 years, I was training in a couple of styles of Kung Fu and also traditional Wado-Ryu karate. And then in 1979, some people might recognize the name. His name is Don Atkins. He is now secretary of the TAGB. He started the first ever Taekwondo school in Worcestershire. And I joined on that first ever night on the 10th of May, 1979. I was with Don for 14 years before I left to join the GTI. And during my time, I've been in, as yourself, I've been in 3 different ITFs. I'm in 4 different associations. I was in the GTI for 16 years. While I was at the GTI, I had several jobs. I was chairman, chief instructor, secretary, area rep, coloured and black belt grading examiner, instructor, tournament coordinator, umpire, referee, general dog's body. So yeah. I did a lot in those 16 years. And eventually 10 years ago, I left and I became independent instructor. Sure. So picked up quite a few experience in those days. That's a brief history of my journey in Taekwondo so far. So I joined Taekwondo in 1979. So that I've 79, 2009, 42 years I've been in Taekwondo.
Excellent. Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because those early days in the 70s, as you say, like most of us, myself included, we got passionate about martial arts through watching Bruce Lee. That's right. And, we wanted to do that. And it's funny as well because, I actually started in karate myself. I started in Higashi karate around 75, actually. One of the reasons that I sort of, when I found Taekwondo, I loved it because the guys that in the karate school that I went to, they were all huge, and I was really tiny. And I used to come.
I know the feeling.
I used to come back bruised and battered. Although I did have a good time, and it was good. But yeah. I mean that was the style of martial arts in the 70s. It was rough and it was tough. What do you say about that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the sparring, especially. When I started, there was nobody had ever heard of sparring equipment. And all through the early years, it was either non-contact, allegedly, bare knuckle fighting, or you had those silly little karate mitts that just went across the knuckles, and the shin instep protectors.
Yes,
yeah, in Taekwondo, that's all we could have until we got to blue belt. Matter of fact, you weren't really officially allowed to spar until you got to blue belt.
That's right.
How that works. I
Yeah,
didn't
well,
know that word because I was entering
that's very true.
tournaments as a yellow belt.
Well, exactly. It was very true. I mean, I tell my students today that, you know, if we were found sparring, you know, before we were blue belt, we got told off. So we used to try and do it in you know, sneak a couple of you know, sparring sessions, you know, and as soon as the instructor came in, we sort of went, oh no, we weren't sparring.
No sparring. And when you got to blue belt, you actually had your tie. You had a tie presented to you from the UK. It was the UKTA days.
Yes.
But when you got to black belt, wow, then you could put the boots on and the gloves, and that was about 82. I got possibly black belt in 1982, 6th of March 1982.
Yeah.
And then you could wear the gear then. So, you know.
Well, I mean, they were great days, to be honest. They were quite, you know, all of us were quite naive at the time. You know, martial arts. We just loved the fact that I certainly, you know, you came back and you were a bit bruised and battered, but you loved the session. It was hard, it was tough, but you felt as if you achieved something. And you know,
but it was the same with the training. I mean, some of the stuff we used to do in those days, you'd never get away with it today.
No,
health and safety would go crazy on you. You know, the lawyers would be lining up down the street.
I know. It's funny, isn't it? Well, no, thanks for that. That overview. Right. I mean, my next thing that I'd like to ask is, you know, I like to think that I fit martial arts in some way, whether it's the training, whether it's the philosophy, into my life every day. And you know, I still enjoy the physical side of training, and I enjoy, you know, sparring was really important to me at one time. It's not so important to me now. You know, the young guns do it, and I get people that are fit enough to teach it and young enough to teach it, and I tend to do the technical stuff these days. But you know, how do you fit sort of martial arts into your life, you know, every day?
Well, I'm a great believer in using martial arts as a tool for self-improvement. I generally do believe that it's a fantastic tool for improving yourself personally. You're not competing with anybody. It's the old adage, you compete against yourself and all this, but it is true. The physical side makes you fitter, makes you stronger, so therefore you get more self-confidence and everything like that. But I do like the philosophy side of Taekwondo. I really do. And I really do believe in it. In everyday life, I'm conscious of the fact that I've got to be courteous, and I've got to be honest and truthful. And if things don't go right, then you work through it. You don't give up. You know, so the tenets fit into your everyday life like that. So you say when you do black belt gradings and that, you ask students about how does Taekwondo help you in your everyday life? You get the normal answers that we've all heard, things like that. Some people are honest about it. Some tell you what you want to hear, but I really and honestly do believe in the philosophy side of Taekwondo. Like I said, I trained for 7 years before I did Taekwondo, and it was physical training. Then all of a sudden, along come Taekwondo, and there's all this studying you had to do, and all this philosophy. And I thought, wow, I like this. I really do like it. And a lot of people, especially when they're young, they don't like the philosophy. What's that? Oh, I've got to learn this thing. You know. But to me, learning theory and learning the philosophy is just another segment of the cake. It's another discipline to learn it, and then it's another discipline to try and apply it in your everyday life. But that's what I try and do.
Yeah, it's interesting. You said. I mean, I was lucky enough to grade for my 6th degree under General Che, actually, before he died, and I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it at all. But
no pressure.
no pressure at all. But I mean, looking back, you know, years now, when I took it, early 2000s. One thing, you know, I was studying my pattern meanings and everything, and then when I got onto the grading, you know, I didn't think I did particularly well. But anyway, when I came out to the table and he asked me questions personally, one thing he said to me, he said, "Listen, you need to read philosophy," and I was like, "Wow." And it's not that I hadn't sort of applied any of the philosophy prior to that, but actually I got really serious after that, just by
That's
him.
Good.
By him saying that. And he said, "Listen, you know, you as a person now, you're a bit more mature. You need to read philosophy, understand philosophy, and see how that applies to your art." And I found that very, very useful, actually. So that was one of the reasons why I do try and get into the philosophy side of things, of the martial art, which I think is really, really important. But thanks. Sorry, and you were going to mention something else.
Yeah, I don't know whether you've noticed, but just recently I've started to go a little bit deeper into the pattern meanings. I'll put the various videos on and blah blah blah.
Yeah, I saw that.
The thing is, with that sort of thing, you can go into it as much as you like and take as much as you like or as little as you like.
Yes.
I mean, and a lot of these meanings, you learn like 2 or 3 lines to pass your grade.
Yes.
But behind that 2 or 3 lines is a whole story of what these people have achieved and done.
Yeah, definitely.
And you could go on forever. So what I've tried to do is I tried to give a little bit more, but not that much that people got bored and thought, oh, God, is this War and Peace? This is, you know. But it's just trying to encourage people to go just that little bit deeper and say, look, you can do it. Just, study a bit, look around a bit, dig a bit, and understand a bit more. Understand what these people did. Not just say, oh, 1 year noted Buddhism 686 AD. Well, actually, that's wrong. But what do you learn from that? That's all you have to learn to pass your grade. But there's a whole story behind the guy, and this is the same with all the pattern meanings.
Sure.
And a lot of them really did show a lot of indomitable spirit. It was hard days in those ancient clear days. You know, it was tough, and these guys really did sacrifice a lot. For what they did. But in a couple of lines of pattern meaning, you don't get that. So that's what I was trying to say. Just dig a little bit and understand a bit more.
No, that's excellent. I've got another question here for you, but you sort of answered it, but I think I will still ask it. And it's, I mean, I will say that for me, as a teenager, I mean, I got I think my Taekwondo black belt in 81, and it completely changed me as a person. I was quite I would say a short-tempered teenager. Like a lot of teenagers. My mum always used to say, "Oh, are you hungry?" And I said, "No, Mum." She said, "Well, why are you getting angry?"
What's the matter?
So, but I think martial arts has given me. It certainly cooled my temper. It's allowed me to be a bit more compassion and have a bit more compassion, show a bit more empathy for people. It's given me some fantastic friends and colleagues. You know, my lifelong friend Master Osborne, we met when we were 9 years old. I've already spoken to him this morning already. You know, we speak to each other 10 times a day. He's my brother, really. I don't see him as a friend. He's my brother.
And the one you lost, unfortunately.
And also Master B as well. Oh man, the 3 of us together, it was, well, yeah. Don't start that because I'll start crying. I still cry every time I mention his name. But my question is what are the main benefits that your martial arts have given you, really? But I know you have alluded to some.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head by saying it's give you more empathy and compassion. And before I started martial arts, I used to do a lot of shooting.
Okay.
I used to go pigeon shooting, rabbit shooting, pheasant, and all this kind of thing. And then gradually, as I started martial arts, and as the years went on, I didn't want to do that anymore. And now I wouldn't dream of hurting any animal. Wouldn't dream of it. It's funny how it does that, because people look at martial arts, I think, oh, it's violent. Well, no, it's not. It's not. If everything is controlled, and it teaches you not to be violent, not to be destructive. And it certainly worked for me. And I don't know how it does it, but it just seems to. And I've had parents come to me loads of times and say, my son's suddenly doing ever so well at school. He ain't getting into trouble anymore. What have you done to him? So, well, nothing. But they say, well, how does it work? How have you done this? And I'm saying, well, I don't know how it works. I just know it does.
Yeah.
And to try and put it in a box and say this is how it works, you can't. I don't think you can do that. I think it all depends on whether you take martial arts for what they really are, and not just somebody who wants to get in a cage and beat 7 bells out of somebody else.
Yeah.
To me, that's not martial arts.
No.
But yeah, so definitely it calms you down. People say I can fight because I don't have to, or I can fight because I don't want to fight. And Bruce Lee said the art of fighting without fighting. At the time when I heard that, I thought, oh, load of luck. But now I understand I understand that it can change people like that. It teaches respect. And it teaches you to reason things through without suddenly smacking somebody in the face just for the hell of it, which a lot of people, it does do that to you. I don't know how it does it. I can't answer that one. I just know it works. I just know it does work. And it's a great leveler.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter how old you are, or how young you are, I've got students who are 5 and 6. I've got students who are my age, which is nearly 70 now. And it's a great leveler. I've taught unemployed people. I've let them train for free. I've also taught lawyers, doctors, solicitors, judges. But in that dojang, everybody's the same and everybody is treated the same, and it's a great leveler. And I think it teaches those people who could possibly be up there looking down on somebody and thinking, it sort of levels it. And so people have respect for each other, no matter what their job is, how much money they've got, what they've done with their life. Everybody is the same. And I think that's a great thing about martial arts.
And I think as somebody who's been teaching martial arts for a long time now, I don't know whether you will agree with this, but whenever I get a student in, or even, let's say when a student leaves, and I've we all have students that leave, but I always say to them, I always thank them actually for teaching me something. I learn something different from each student that I've taught, whether it be the difficult ones, like yourself, myself and Master O, we used to have a blind couple in Bath that we used to teach, and we used to put them at the front of the class, and that was amazing. I've had some children with cerebral palsy, and all different types of kids, with on the spectrum, if you like, and had some fantastic results. Recently, Master O's got a student who was severely autistic and didn't have sort of much hope in life when he was a young kid, but his dad brought him along to Taekwondo, and he actually got his black belt last year I think he was 20 last year, and he started I don't know, 7 or 8, but just a magnificent young man now, and he's very proud of it. And his dad, when we presented him with, his dad was in tears. Just thought, his dad said he never thought he'd be able to achieve anything like this. So I think there's some valuable. I mean, it goes both ways, doesn't it? It's not just about us teaching people, but about what they can do for us as well. And I think that's the important thing. So there's nothing better than seeing a student, especially a kid. I've had students come into the class, first lesson, they've run off in tears. They can't handle it. Next lesson, same. After about a month, they're then running around with everybody and starting to mix a little bit and blah 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 blah. And that same people, I've turned around and they've got black belts, they've won world championships. What we can do for people, we've got the best job in the world. I've always said that. We might not be paying the best, but we've got the best job in the world in job satisfaction, because there's nothing greater than being able to take somebody who's got problems, teach them over a number of years, and then see them come out the other side confident. It's brilliant. It really is brilliant. We change people's lives. I don't think a lot of instructors realize that. And that's fantastic.
I can remember things that my first kung fu instructor taught me nearly 50 years ago. I can remember. Because to me, he was like a god. And that's how students look at instructors sometimes. And they hang on your every word. And you can build a student up so much, but you can also destroy them so quickly with just a couple of offhand comments. So you've got to, you have to be careful, but we can do wonders for people. That's our job. It's not to create world champions. It's not to create, like yourself, I would look at people like Mark Wheeler and Neil Williams, amazing athletes, incredible. And we've been so lucky to have people like you've had Phil Whitlock and those guys, and you yourself have done it, but that is a bonus. That's the icing on, that is a bonus. That's not really what, if they go ahead and do that, then that's fantastic. I'm not knocking it at all. But then you've got another 99% of people who are just,
yeah,
some stay for yellow belt, some stay for green, some stay for black, some take, but I regularly talk to people and they Facebook me and say, I trained with you, I got to green belt, 30 years ago. I loved it. It changed my life, so they only stayed for a year, but no matter how long or how short the stay is, everybody remembers, and hopefully, we can sow the seeds in people's minds to develop them into a good character and better people. That's what it's about.
Yes, yeah.
The rest is a bonus.
Well, exactly. Yeah, no, I'd agree with all. I'd agree with all of that. Yeah, as you say, 99.9% of the students we teach never reach, elite athlete status, I would call it. But do you know what? They're just as valuable and as everyone else. And I love it. I love it. From my youngest, who is student who's 4, to my eldest student who's in the Well, actually, we had a student join Puma recently who was 90.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's taken his first belt. But the worst thing is that we have to try and say, look, no, you shouldn't be. No, stop. Because he keeps thinking, oh my, you shouldn't be doing. I'm thinking, well, he seems to be fine, so let him carry on. But so that's the beauty, I think, of what we do, and it's great. Well, no, thanks for that. That's excellent. That's a great explanation, actually. And to be honest, it's it's where I'm coming from as well. What I would like to ask now is, people see us, and particularly our white belts, because I think in the end, we become very friendly with people that have been there a long time. I've got students that started with me when they were 7. You just mentioned Mr. Whitlock there, who started me when he was 7. Mr. Pix started, they're now in their 30s and 40s. So I've known them a long time. And sometimes people see us in the front of the class and they think that's all we do. But I've got many different passions, some odd ones that I do outside of Taekwondo, and I love, from dancing to lots of other things. But I always like to sort of ask people, what do you do when you're not doing martial arts? Any other passions you got?
Yeah, I think a lot of it, again, we're going back to philosophy now, but I think a lot of it is yin yang.
Yes.
It's getting a balance in your life. Now, your martial arts is hectic.
Yes.
You work hard, it's hectic, you're zooming around all over the place. So what I tend to do, I like to get out in nature, whether I'm fishing or playing golf. Okay. I like to strum around on my guitar, as you do.
Yes, I do.
And my bass. I read a lot, and I love history. Right. One of my passions is history, and the further back the better.
Excellent. Yeah.
The further I've got a diploma in Egyptology,
right?
And that's the other side of me. That's my yang. That's my yin to me. Taekwondo's yang.
Yeah.
I've got 2 passions. I've got the Taekwondo side, and then I've got the other side. But I do like to get out in nature, and I do like to go for walks, whether me and Rach grab the dogs and take the dogs for a walk.
Yeah.
Out on the Malvern Hills or something. And then I read and I study a lot.
Yeah.
Hence my interest in the Korean history as well.
Yeah.
The more deeper versions of Korean history than just the pattern meaning sort of thing. I like to go into it a little bit.
Oh, that's great. Well, do you know what? It's I also think that doing something and having a passion like Taekwondo sort of increases our passion for other things as well. One of the things that I and anyone listening to this, feel free to use it, okay? Because this is what this is all about. But I always ask about the meaning of Hwarang, the Hwarang youth group and so on. And I always say to people that the Hwarang youth group, they weren't just skilled in combat, but they were skilled in other things,
dance,
in
poetry,
calligraphy, music, art, and so on.
Yeah.
And I ask people, well, what does that teach us? What does that teach us? And my sort of ideal answer for that is that although our Taekwondo is, or martial arts, our passion, we should be able to appreciate other things as well. We should be able to look at other things and see the beauty in those things.
Absolutely.
Calligraphy, funny enough, was one of my passions at school. I've got an O level in calligraphy.
Really?
Yeah.
Well done, mate.
Yeah, calligraphy was something that I absolutely loved. I wasn't very good at art, but I just loved calligraphy. It really, really drew me in at the time, and I still do a little bit to this day. So I said that I've got many passions, but calligraphy is one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it helps you to appreciate those other things in life, and you can look at something and say, oh, I can see the beauty in that. And yeah, maybe it's like nature as well. I mean, I love nature. I love getting on my motorbike, going up to Minchin Hampton, sitting on the top of there and looking over and seeing the green. And also a couple of years back, I went to the Brecon Beacons on my motorbike.
Oh, Brecon Beacons, yeah, great ride through there.
Yeah, seeing the going to the waterfall tours. Oh, unbelievable. Yeah, I think it helps us to perhaps appreciate other things that we would generally miss.
Yeah. So and it gives you that balance in life as well, which is so important. It is all about balance. I mean, the ancients were believed in yin yang thousands and thousands of years ago.
Yes,
and they didn't, and it's still recognized today. Well, a philosophy doesn't live for thousands of years if it doesn't have any value.
No, exactly.
It would have been lost in time yonks ago.
Yes,
but because people today, and yes, you can identify it to martial arts, because you've got all your nowadays the body meridians and your pressure points and you've got everything is down to balance and yin yang.
Yeah.
And I think people need that in life. If not, if you just do the aggressive stuff all the time, I think it makes people a bit aggressive themselves. But as the more you do, you then realize, well, hang on a minute, there's more to it. That's why I like to get out in nature. And if I'm fishing, I don't care if I don't catch anything. It doesn't bother me. I'm out in the sunshine, I'm out in the fresh air, I'm out in the country. Play golf terribly, but who cares? Me and Rachel's dad go out and we play golf together, and it's a great 4 or 5 hours out of the house. And because golf courses if there's one thing they have got, it's fantastic scenery.
Yes,
and we're out in the nature, and I'm watching the buzzards, and I'm watching the pheasants, the foxes, and
sure,
that's a plus. Even the red kites now are coming around.
Yes, definitely. Well, it sort of brings me on to my next question, really. Now, a few years ago, I started very with great difficulty getting into meditation. I read a book actually by I think he's American, a guy called Light Watkins, and he said about meditation for people that find it hard to meditate. Now, I'm generally a really hyperactive person, so to get me to sit still and meditate is difficult. Now, I think the meditation comes in many different ways. For example, you mentioned fishing, and I could see that as a meditative process, for example. But I started doing a little bit of that, and I started doing some breath work actually as well, some breathing exercises and whatever, because I said I'm quite a hyper person, so I'd sort of calm me down, and that's the yin to my yang. It's just a question really, of whether you do anything like that, any meditation or breath work, or do you see things like your fishing more of a meditative process?
No, the breathing is life force. And again, we're going back to the ancient times. They were doing meditation and breathing exercises, qigong and all that. It's all internal energy, internal breath. And again, if there was no benefit to it, it would have been lost thousands of years ago. But it's still practiced today, so there must be something there. I said I got a diploma in Egyptology, but I've also got a diploma in crystal healing.
Oh, right. That's interesting.
Now, studying crystal healing, we did a lot of meditation exercises, breathing exercises, and it's like I said earlier on, it works, but how does it work? Don't know. I don't know. You've got all your philosophies about it's down to vibration, it's down to colours of the crystals. No, I don't know. But it does seem to work. So when I was doing that, I did go into meditation. You go into sit quiet and listen to meditation tapes. They'll take you on a journey, and it just calms you down. If you feel hypo, you sit down for an hour, listen to these tapes, close your eyes, and it just brings you right down. you know,
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
soft music and everything like that. It is beneficial.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I find, it's interesting because about 2015, I actually started doing Tai Chi, and it was really great. I really enjoyed it because obviously, I think with Taekwondo and martial arts generally, there is both sides. You've got that soft side and that hard side. But I loved doing the Tai Chi, and I actually found it quite difficult because the movements were very slow and controlled. Whereas, obviously in our martial arts, sometimes you go and bang, you're going for it. But I tell you what, it was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. I mean, one of the things that I wanted to do was to go into a class where I wasn't the instructor, where somebody was just telling me what to do. And so on. And I got to be honest, I found it really beneficial. I unfortunately, it was a difficult time in my life because my mother died soon after that, and I lost a bit of motivation for a lot of things at that time.
Yeah.
Which I'm trying to pick up again now. But I did enjoy it. I enjoyed just going in, not having to think about what I was going to teach, so somebody else had to think about that. And I have to say, for things like balance, my breathing, my control, I really, really enjoyed it. It was great. So, with all the martial arts, whether it's a hard martial art, soft martial art, you can get something from it, all times of life. So.
Well, you could see the Chinese people back in the parks doing it every morning and all over the country. So, 100 million people are doing something. There must be something behind it. They wouldn't do it for nothing if there was no benefit.
No, exactly. Well, I'll just give you a bit of a time check because I tell you what, we're nearly out of time.
We could go on forever.
Well, I'm hoping that we will at some point with yourself do another one, and because all the people that I'm asking to come on and speak are people that I believe have something to say and something good to say, and I believe that's the case with you as well. So, great, and thank you for agreeing to it. I mean, is there anything, martial art wise or other that you'd like to share, or anything you think is perhaps important? So perhaps the other questions, I've got them all listed because I'm quite new to this, so I can't remember.
No, you're fine, mate.
But it's I think it's nice for people that are doing martial arts to just have a little bit of insight into some of the people that perhaps they've seen, because we all have a story to tell.
Yeah, I think people have said to me, why did you get into martial arts?
Yeah.
And once I started training, I stopped and thought, why do I want to do this? And it was a really selfish reason, to be honest with you. I'm being completely honest now. I was 20 when I started martial arts. I wasn't a kid. I was 20 when I started, and I'm 70 next year.
Yeah.
And I started martial arts purely because there's so many things I wanted to do in life. And the one thing that can help me do those things is this thing called a body.
Yeah.
You abuse it, then sooner or later it's going to crack up on you and you're not going to be able to do things you wanted to do. So it was almost like a personal selfish reason, because I believe that even in those early days, that if I looked after this thing, then I could do what, fulfill dreams that I wanted to do, and maybe even live a little bit longer. You never know, you never know about that. But yeah, I've never smoked. I've never took drugs. I'll have the occasional glass of wine at Christmas, and that's it. And I can still, I'm so lucky. So it must have worked to a degree, but I think I'm very lucky as well, because I've had one knee operation and that's it in nearly 50 years of martial arts. That's the only thing and I can still kick people in the head. I can still get my leg up there. And who was it? I was talking to Alex Reed.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, Alex, and he was working with Russ Perks. And Russell asked me over if I'd like to meet him. So yeah, I'd like to meet him. Cage fighter, kickboxer. I'd talk. Really lovely guy.
Yeah.
And he was saying, Clive, he said, I've got to go to London after I leave here because I'm fighting on an exhibition fight tonight. He said, but my body's shot. He said, it's absolutely shot. And I said, well, what you doing it for then? why are you doing it? He
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
because, you know, people expect to see me. Or I said, yeah, but if you're going to cripple yourself up even more or not
Yeah.
perform as good as you could, what is the point? You know?
Exactly.
And he said, well, how long have you been doing it? And he couldn't believe I've been doing it about 45 years then when I met him.
Yeah, yeah.
And he went, wow. He said, well, I bet you can't kick above the knee. I said, I'll kick you in the head if you want me to.
Yeah.
He said, you can get your leg up. You can do that. I said, yeah. And Russ says, yeah, believe me, you can.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said, how the hell do you manage to do it? So I've been lucky. I have been lucky. I can't emphasize enough for people to look after this thing called a body. Don't abuse it.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't abuse it, because that's the thing that will get you around for the next X number of years. So you can fulfill goals, go to places you've always dreamed of, do things.
Yeah, yeah.
And if this thing lets you down, you can't do it. And if it's let you down because you've abused it, that's unforgivable.
Yeah.
I'm being a bit preachy now, but
no, that's fine. That's what we, we want to hear your thoughts. Well, listen, I'd like to. Well, first of all, like I say, love to have you on again. I'd say we can cover some of those other questions. But I just want to say thank you very, very much to anybody listening to this. I'll put, if Master Harrison wants to share some of his details and where he's available, classes available, then please. I'll put those in the show notes. I'd like to say thank you to everybody for tuning in. Thanks again, Master Harrison. It's been fantastic catching up with you. And, hopefully we can catch up again.
We can meet up and get your interview finished.
Yes. Oh, good gracious me. I know. Don't even.
I'm embarrassed
about that. So, hey, listen, thank you very much. I'll catch you soon. And, let's hope that I will get it finished. I promise. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.